Hello, welcome everyone to F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T podcast 130, aka Shall He Roast on a Spit or Be Browned in a Stew Pan? It's a futile fall showdown, all founded in 25 stones going head to head. We are in round two, annotated fall, RIP, something something. And joined as always by Alistair the Pemberton Walker. How are you doing, Alistair?
I'm all right. I'm as demand avoidance as ever.
Very good. Stu, the Mikey Twatwa, will join us from the other side, and we're very pleased to be joined by Al's mate Tarpey. How you doing, Tarpey?
I'm very well, thank you. Got
Good.
the radiators on.
Nice. Is it getting a bit chilly down where you are?
Well, I can't tell because I've got the radiators on, but it felt a little bit like it looks like it outside of me.
Nice. So what's your knowledge, your history, if any, with this band, The Fall? Or what's your kind of musical history as well?
I've got no musical history apart from continually putting bands on that I like in the past. And then I was actually thinking how nervous I was before. I was just got a little flashbacks to walking into classes with people who've actually done their homework and stuff. But
right.
I was trying to think where I could put it in terms of an absolute obsessive Fall fan for 4 or 5 years. Really obsessive. There was probably only listening to them and one or two other bands occasionally, and then just kind of packed in and then gave in at some point, 83, 84, and just thought, that's enough now. So probably up until about Perverted by Language, I was just immersed in the world of The Fall and then dwindled away. And I can't really exactly tell you why it stopped at that point. But since Alistair asked us to do it, I've been having to think about it and put it into a few categories. But depending on what you want to talk about, I'll try and kind of explain.
Why very nice. Did you ever dip back in, or were you pretty much done once Perverted by Language was done?
I went to see them live I was trying to estimate it. I possibly saw them live 3 times after for various reasons, and didn't feel tempted to go back and start checking out albums I've never heard or anything like that. But over the last week, I've kind of had a listen to obviously the 6 that you've selected and quite a few other things just to see whether there was any logic to it or whether it was just personal. I guess I can't do this anymore, kind of.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough because I think of the tracks, one of them obviously was in that bracket and This Day off Hex, but then Gross Chapel and Hey Luciani must have come just after you, kind of like a year or two.
Yeah, that was on the cusp. That was really interesting. Sorry, because that.
Are you a Brexist then? Is that the problem?
No, I was trying to work out whether I'd seen her live, and I did. I saw her. Went to from Manchester with Love Kick,
right? Yeah.
Which would have been 86. So she'd have been in that band. I don't remember an awful lot about that though. But set, I think, and they were definitely the best band on the night. Can't remember the names of the other two. Was it New Order and the Smiths?
Something like that, wasn't it? It was the biggies.
New Order live were very hit and miss depending upon the technology. You know, if something screwed up there, then it was an awful gig.
Yeah, I don't remember much about that gig at all, to be honest. I know it was historic. Other than that, I can't remember a thing.
Yeah,
I got a little bit confused between that and another World Cup gig. I thought I'd only seen them there once, but I did see them there with John Cooper Clarke.
Right.
A few years before. I don't think Briggs would have been. I'm not sure actually. It was 82.
No, she was a bit later. So she basically Wonderful and Frightening. So essentially, as you parted ways, Briggs was more or less coming on board, and it was a very different band after that. As you know.
Yeah, a lot more pop sensibilities there. You know, going for the cash.
That's always interesting when you.
Well, I think we were just. I think we were just exposing the commercial side, really, and exploring that sort of, you've been in a band for so long and you're still skinned. Come on.
I think so.
One of the most fascinating things when I was looking through videos and interviews with him, and it's kind of what was he living on? Was he actually really living on the band? Probably very low food budget.
I can't imagine they were making a lot of cash, really. And we read Paul Hanley's book, Steve Hanley's book, and he was working back at his pie shop, and all the way through he was having to dip back in and do other stuff. And that was even later when they were actually probably making more money. So I know, but they were still young at the time, weren't they? Still early 20s around that kind of era that you're talking about.
The time, the time I tried to kind of make sense of the bands that I'd been listening to a lot. And there was definitely a sort of a line you could draw through. Myself, really, we were the first generation, really, that had the like to be bored. And I'm not saying you can be creativity, but the kind of jobs, if you look at the kind of jobs a lot of them were doing, which were the kind of low-level clerical work, kind of what I drifted into from school, the level of boredom you come from and the level of boredom you are now going into, and you didn't really have the poverty or any great trauma as an excuse to just keep going at that, or to make it bearable, I suppose, or to give it a reason for it.
No, let's. I'm really interested.
Side to it, like.
Well, I'm really interested in your take on the other songs, especially some of the later ones. So let's jump in first. Let's have a listen to Hey Luciani, which what was that? That was about 86, I think. We'll have a listen.
I think so.
Yeah.
Luciani, the future said today. I said, hey, Luciani, a pop of 3 days. They made out you were ultranauts and had no time for your Christianity. You paid with your life for the treachery, and the future said today. The future said to stay. Luciani.
And one day the courier murdered you. Alistair, what do you make of Hey Luciani? Allegedly, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a really, really nice pop song about purple side, if that's the correct word. The musicianship on it's great. Dynamics in the structure, all like really bang on. To me, that this is so well written that you could almost convince that it's a cover from the same era, if you like Ghost in Your House or something like that, because it's quite unlike the Fall in a lot of respects. But yeah, that harpsichord and you've got violin in there, solid drum beat. The bass is kind of high pitched at times, so which I quite like. But it's it's there, it's complementing everything else. There's a lot of stuff going on in it, like a short space. The guitar's a bit low in the mix, but it's doing some pretty mad stuff at times as well. If you listen closely, kids.
Indeed, not bad at all. Tarpey, what do you think of Luciani?
Oh shit! Okay, really can't stand this. I mean, this is what you're saying. Sorry. I suppose it's coming from the perspective again where I've got to think a lot more about what he was doing and why he connected so much with quite a lot of people when he first started. Is that there was an element of storytelling to everything he did, and this feels like he's tried to jam that into a pop song. And I can appreciate how well produced this is, but the vocals to me just sound forced and awkward. And lyrically, it feels, I don't know. I was just thinking, there's a ghost in the house as soon as it started, and I thought it just doesn't have that kind of pop sensibility, that doesn't have that catchy kind of like, I don't know, Rasputin by Boney M. I was thinking, imagine how much you'd rather listen to that.
A lot, yeah.
It's historical. I don't know, it just doesn't. It feels awkward. He doesn't feel comfortable. It feels like he's trying to do something that he's trying to move into a kind of literary world at the same time as some pop sensibility, and it's all just a little bit too awkward for me. Sorry, there you go. I'll tell you, I'm going to come from a completely non-musical perspective.
No, please do. That's I actually agree with you on a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I think that it's a bit desperate in terms of a pop tune. It's not very poppy. It's kind of by the numbers. I like the harpsichord. And he goes into this mid-section that's kind of really rocky that just doesn't do it for me at all. And there's some kind of backing vocals at the end where it's kind of desperate, trying to make it awkward. Yeah, the lyrics themselves I really like, and obviously we've digged into the Luciani play a lot, so obviously the underlying lyrics are really, really good and do tell a story, but it just doesn't work at all as a pop song. Unlike, as you say, Rara Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen, that was a cat that really was gone.
Yeah, I learned quite a lot from that song. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of what was that? It might be Giant song. About I mean, they did a few, didn't they? Where it's just literally just stories about some historical gamescape and stuff like that. And even if it just had been a bit more, just gone with the confidence, kind of like little historical epic, but it just seems.
He's done it a few times. I mean, like I'd say something like Marquis Cha-Cha, which is a bit late. Well, it's on For Him to Live, right? And I think he that kind of was a little bit more successful. This feels like it's not pop, and it's also not kind of abstract enough. So he's kind of like trying to tell this quite linear story. It's very, the lyrics are literally just exactly what he wants to say. You were Pope of 3 days.
I mean, where do you think his head was at this point? Sorry.
To me, like when you're saying it's like it's not poppy. To me, it's like sugar coated in my head. Yeah. I quite like a lot of bubblegum pop and stuff like that as well. And it is very, very sugary in my opinion. You can get diabetes.
I think, it's not catchy pop. It is definitely got all the pop stuff. They're trying, all the parts are there, but it just doesn't. It's not a good pop song for me.
I didn't want to go back and listen to it again.
I can only disagree with you. I mean, like for me, something like "Here Comes Your Man" Pixies. That's like a great pop song. And I'd put this in the same bracket.
I think there's no comparison between those two. I'd say "Here Comes Your Man" is a proper Beatlesy pop tune, and this one just feels.
This is for me. This is a bit Kinksy.
Okay. Yeah. We don't. Let's not argue. We're all allowed our opinions.
I mean, what do you think he was trying to do?
I think he's trying to get some money, trying to get something in the charts. Try to put something out there that's dead commercial that might get some radio airplay.
I think so, and I think that connects to the play, almost like a promotion or a theme tune for the play. And I just, had it been like a proper pop hit, but again, the weird choice of making the lyrics so clearly on the nose and disjointed in a pop song, because he knows what a good pop song sounds like. He knows how to do that. Although this was quite early on, so maybe there were, something like Curious Orange or something like that, where I think maybe. And then later they were pro tooling him to make it so that there were choruses in the song. This is what Stu says: very jolly and exuberant and lots of facts. I don't believe a lot of facts about a person I don't believe, but yet I still remain completely ignorant about it. I like it and always enjoy it when it's on, but don't think I've ever once in my life reached for it. It is perfectly okay. And I would agree with that. Although I do like the lyrics, such as, meet the church bank essay. They said you were a peasant stock and one day the courier murdered you. Your hermetics are through, and on that fruited plain the corporate bishops graze. Exit church of poverty, exit church of pain. The future's here today.
I think this is almost the tragedy. I think he was really. I mean, to me, just going back to the albums, I probably missed out on a little bit. It felt like he was really writing skills were really improving, and I don't feel as though that was reflected in what was coming out musically quite a lot. The album still it justified. Really wanted to justify what they really created an atmosphere to what he was doing, the stories he was telling, and I just don't get any sense of what this was about from the music at all, and it's not catchy.
No, it's not catchy. Is the big thing for me. I think the harpsichord, and there's definitely what I would say is the song it's up against its Gross Chapel does a way better job of creating a mood. So anything else to add, or shall we move on to that one?
Yeah.
Was it real?
Was it? Well, I don't know if Al told you, but we did put the play on last year at Prestwich Arts. If you listen to this podcast, you've heard us talk about it. Like, people listening, they were like, shut up talking about that play, because we did it. We put it on as a radio. They did a radio style play. Alistair played the bishop, right? Masinkus. Do I think it's real? I don't even think that the book, because I read the book In God's Name, I don't even think that makes a convincing argument that it was real. I think halfway through that he kind of starts backing out and being like, he probably just had a heart attack.
Yeah, lyric that was it.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's have a listen to Gross Chapel off Ben Sinister, 1986. A similar year, actually, because Luciani came out, I think, alongside Ben Sinister, maybe just a little bit after it. Let's have a listen to Gross Chapel. Gross Chapel, British Grenadiers. Tarpey, what do you make of that one?
Oh, I absolutely love this. I mean, I don't know this, and it probably this week has been the first time I've listened to it. And I don't know about the rest of the album. I think I did stop listening to them completely just before this and never. But the atmosphere is incredible. It's so cinematic almost about it, just in this incredibly dark mood. I mean, I think there's kind of references back to kind of things like J Temperance and stuff like that. There's a dark folk horror, gothic and dark, gothic folk horror kind of things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it really does feel like he's starting to expand those kind of stories into something bigger and broader. And I'd love to know actually completely what this is about, but I can't quite work it out from the lyrics. It just, again, a little bit sad that this wasn't where they really ended up going, just creating things that were just more about atmosphere and just on a broader. Maybe they needed to move into other areas.
Well, the weird thing is that this is the album after This Nation's Saving Grace. So they did Wonderful and Fine and This Nation's Saving Grace and got and went way poppier. And then this was an interesting kind of detour back towards kind of this more like the Perverted Our Language stuff, which is a bit dark, a bit more moody. But again, after this, they went off on a totally different trajectory. And this was probably the end of this sort of mood. Yeah, Alistair, what do you make of Gross Chapel, British Grenadiers?
I'll agree with you. It's a very moody one, isn't it? I love all the staggered dynamics and the bass. It's like just going all over the place. It just sounds like everything's off time, but it's like everything's banged on. It's weird for that. But yeah, like you said, very dark sounding, film noir kind of feel to it. Reminds me a bit of like Morricone in some respects, especially with the drop down bits where you can hear like the tambourine a bit more obviously. But at the same time, it kind of reminds me of sort of early Sebadoh stuff, kind of rocking the Forest era. They had some like pretty moody stuff musically, stuff like Mind Meld kind of reminds me of, but I don't know if it's the thing they're doing like with the octave. But yeah, really good tune. Very moody, as you said.
Yeah, I think that idea, and this is, we talked earlier about the lyrics not necessarily matching the music, and this, like you say, it's very gothic. It's definitely got that kind of Arthurian, almost kind of like mystical thing going through it. And yeah, the lyrics, absolutely impossible to pin down what's going on. Steps in the streets around now, salesperson mobile, porterage down to gross dark chapel, was introduced by a woman loose limb slim. One woke up to a whitewashed ugly wall whoosh, made worse by dirty postcards trapped in their town. They're embracing criminals in panicky hall, no temper for fall group. Yeah, absolutely. What I like is that it stays dark, that it has the moody kind of the cymbals, build it, the dark guitar. that heavy bass. And then there's a kind of second guitar that's more chiming, but still feels there's still moods that, unlike say something like Rod off the same album, it doesn't break into a more jaunty thing. It keeps that mood when it expands. And yeah, absolutely, it does feel like you're going down underground into some kind of catacombs, and it goes on for ages, but it just feels like it's the right length.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chris Lead said to mention, sorry, it's a mutual friend, Alistair, but he said to mention early Sonic Youth, but I don't know, I didn't really know.
I get that for sure, and obviously we know that Sonic Youth heavily influenced by the Fall, but I definitely get that anything off
Sister or something, not Sister, Evil, kind of.
Evil or Daydream Nation, that kind of era for sure, definitely.
Yeah,
Even
as well.
In terms of the mood and that continually sinister storytelling, I mean, even Good Morning Captain, I've got a little
Valencia.
Yeah, that's 2 in a row. Alistair mentioned that last week, although I think he got the name wrong. You think he called it Hello Captain?
Hello Captain was the attempt at the pop version.
Yeah. Stu, our friend Stu, says this is the real shit. Slow and sustained, building exactly as it should. I love everything about it, especially where the bass gets lost and does a weird turnaround. Drips with atmosphere. The twangy guitars are perfect. Love it. Yeah, even when it breaks down, right down towards the end, it breaks into a really minimal kind of moody thing, and it still works. There's just something about all the elements that come together. Yeah, top.
That storytelling thing of just sort of, I mean, drop the mood. It kind of drops the mood knowing something's more sinister is about to. Sorry to go.
Oh, please do.
But that's what it feels to me. I mean, it has got a real sense of storytelling, building the story, building the tension, dropping the tension a little bit. This sort of more evil is about to.
I think so. I get that. It feels quite composed, but we know how they worked. How Smith always wanted it quick, but it feels like either it just magically came together, or they did spend a bit of time on building it. It's hard to say. You got Cy Wollstonecroft there on drums as well. He does a good job, because this isn't necessarily a style that he was.
Right? Yeah, he's good at being a just like solid, holding down a straight beat kind of thing. But this is a bit more. Yeah.
Here's Max. I forgot to read Max's from Luciani. I'll mention it in a minute. But Max says, "Sing Tororo, wonderfully murky and mysterious. This one, possibly a time slip between a misty German old town and the titular 19th century military unit. It's absolutely packed with invention. All the musicians play off each other brilliantly. They're really in the pocket, but it still nearly falls apart at one point, and that adds to the charm. I think Cy rescues it by adding an extra half bar, possibly the best track on a very good album. Yeah, there's some suggestion that the theme might be this kind of multiple time things going on, and because he brings in that gross, he basically sings the entire gross British Grenadiers song, which is from like the 1700s, and was apparently played when the British Army repelled US forces in Philadelphia. So it's kind of it's not a coincidence, the historical thing. As we know, Smith knew his stuff, and it was very deliberate to build that mood and then sing the entire. I think there's the only time in the canon where they've done that, where they've brought on the entire lyrics from another song and just done it in the middle of their own tune. But yeah, fantastic.
Some thinking Sean Radder likes.
What's that?
Sean Radder likes doing that, just pinching stuff from other songs like lyrics.
He pinched one song. Lazy Artist is my favourite one for that, because he pinched a whole bunch. But this is a whole different ball game. Yeah, there's a lot of things around online suggesting that there's a little bit of a whole Grail Chapel Perilous thing going on alongside, like he does in Bremen Nacht, a bit where he's kind of playing with time, as he does on quite a few songs, Wings and is it Futures and Past, where he does it as well. Yeah. And the lyrics from the British Grenadiers in themselves are awesome as well. Some talk of Alexander and Hercules, or Hector and Lysander, and such great names as these. But all the world's great heroes, there's none that can compare with Tororo to the British Grenadiers. Military history. So, well, let's have a vote, because one of these, I think, is pretty obvious at this point, but which one of these is going through. So, Alistair, which way are you voting?
I'll set up a bit of drama and go for Luciani. 1-0.
Well, I'll go for that. No, British Grenadiers.
Okay, let's have a look. So Stu has gone for Gross Chapel easily, giving it a lot of points. And Max has just tipped his hat towards Gross Chapel as well. I'm going to go Gross Chapel, so it's a rout at the end of the day. This is what Max had to say about Gross Chapel, because he always has an interesting take on things. Oh no, and Hey Luciani, sorry. Hey Luciani, this might be the perfect fall single, or at least of that era, with Hanley's melodic bass woven between Simon Rogers' harpsichord sound. Yeah, because this is Rogers' first kind of, oh no, 'cause he'd already done This Nation as well, hadn't he? Bricks provides some great guitar hooks, but they're more in the background. At this time, with Mr. Pharmacist and Hit the North, it really felt like the Fall might cross over into the mainstream chart. At the time, I'd only been into the band for about a year, but they were my favorite, and I spent hours playing along to them on the drums. It was incredibly exciting listening, and is now still exhilarating. Interesting that it's a pop gem for some. It doesn't quite hit home for others. But anyway, we're up against the next tune we're going to come to is a later one, 2009, Alton Towers. Let us check out that one.
That was a lot of fun.
Great. Declining axis. And the waves through the slits. Inside Rocco look very different, and I'm no longer anyway sublime. How to get out? How to stay still? Whoa, I laughed it.
So, Alton Towers for me, the kind of jazzy drumming and the off-kilter bass, some sweet sounds coming on those keyboards from Mulaney. It's very disconcerting. It's almost like a roller coaster. At the top of the roller coaster at Alton Towers, Mez almost seems the weakest element at the beginning, kind of clutching for like what he's trying to do, but he does settle in about halfway through. There's some spooky theremin keys come in, and it's top tier. It's the best. It's my favorite song on that record, and the rest of the record can be really quite pub rocky with its kind of 50-year-old man sort of stuff. But yeah, I wish the rest of the album had sounded more like this. Yeah, enjoyed it a lot. Alistair, what do you think of Alton Towers?
It's delightful, isn't it? It's a nice trip-hoppy kind of thing that reminds me of Tipsy Gone Wrong. I don't know much about the lyrics in this one, like, but hopefully Alton Towers was more fun than Disneyland was for him. But yeah, it's the wonkiness, the groove. It sounds like a double bass. I don't know if it's a sample. But yeah, there's lots of just mad sounds in there, like you mentioned. You kind of like pick out the theremin-y sound. There's possibly a uke in there, and a bunch of other stuff I can't identify properly. I mean, it sounds like mouse torture at the end. But yeah, the thing that I think the weak point for it for me is it's that bass line all the way through. Would have been nice to have had a bit more variety to it. But that's just sort of like, being picky for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, because I think was Andy Toma from House on Mars involved in parts of this album. I wondered whether he was involved in this one a bit more, because it's so different to like that. This and Taurig, really quite different. This should not be mistaken for the Matt Lads song, Alton Towers, which contains the memorable lyric "fuck, cunt, wank, shit," which does not appear in the Falls version, which seems to be more not about Alton Towers at all, but something to do with Italian churches, which is weird. Tarpey, what's
my favourite swearing lyric is "Oh fucky 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 fuck, I live like a cunt" by Sexton Ming.
Okay, well, we all got to make our own path in this world, Alistair.
Yeah.
Tarpey, what does this one do for you? It's much, much later, right? Have you aware of this stuff at all? Or?
Not a lot. I don't know. The jazzy bit, I don't really think it didn't feel like they were qualified to do that. Really, I don't know. As you say, the bass is just so awkward and plodding to me, and then everything's piled on top of that. I mean, it's more Bonzo Dog Doodah band to me than anything really experimental. And the lyrics are starting to sound a little bit like kind of people he characterised at some point where he is. Just sounds like some guy in a pub just not quite get his thoughts together. I don't know. There's references to Loaded magazine, I think, in there. The guy from Loaded magazine.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be Levine. I don't know.
Apparently.
I don't know. Lyrics, if they're about something, I'm not sure he's completely sure himself what this is about now. I did go to Alton Towers in the 70s, and there was definitely room for this to be a lot more sinister and a lot more. But I don't, as you say, I don't think the title's got much to do with what's actually going on there. And I don't know. There was nothing to make me listen to that again. Really.
Nice, good. It's no. It's all about just.
Nearly's got a
I'm not trying to justify be laziness and.
No, it's totally valid because it's certainly not jazz in any sense. It's really just a very wonky little tune, and that appeals to my sensibilities. But I can see how for a lot of people it would not be one of the strongest tracks on the album for sure. Here's what the lyrics go like: Grey decline in Excelsis, and the waves through the slits in San Rocco look very different, and are no way in any longer way sublime. How to get out? The spawn of J-loaded Brown and Lauren Laverne crawl around, and the crows look very different today. Yeah, I don't know. He was mates with James Brown from Loaded because he actually appeared in Luciani at one point. So they went back, and they had that very awkward interview with Lauren Laverne, which was on the Culture Show, I think. But yeah, it's not going to tickle everyone's fancy. Let's have a listen to what Stu thinks. Stu says, one of the best things on the record, queasy and uneasy. It's a soup of sound in places with an actual fairground quality. It does the bonkers in Phoenix thing without being complete shit, which is to its credit. Not sure I give a shit about the whole Lauren Laverne paranoia, but good shit. Or as Max says, is that a double bass? Twin Peaks style jazz. I can picture Audrey dancing solo to this one. Yeah, it's definitely, it's kind of... it could have even gone wonkier and been more disjointed because if you'd gone a few more steps like solid, it was in danger of becoming some pretty dodgy trip hop kind of tune. But I like the balance there, I think. We don't know about the significance of blackbirds. If you've got the answer to fall, there are several hundred words dedicated to the significance of blackbirds in this song. Which is always good. And there's some suggestion that Hail to the Mountain King by Grieg is kind of related to the bass line here, and that might be why it's called Alton Towers. But for us, for people of our age, it may be that the Manic Minor is the... Manic Minor is where we first came across that Grieg tune. I don't know if either of you played this back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
I used to do a proper prog rock version of it, Howl the Mountain King, and was one of the best I saw live.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer did it? Who was it? Who did it?
A band we put on from West Kirby.
All right, nice.
I didn't know ELP had done it. There you go. So
I don't know if ELP did this kind of shit they did. Yeah, it's good stuff though. Much better than Alton Towers. They're not, in my opinion, because I love Alton Towers. But it is up against Mexico Wax Solvent from 2010, just a year later, from the album Your Future, Our Clutter.
Of a George of Mexico, and I tell you this, it is Aqua Rosa,
Very mild indeed. Tarpey, what's your take on this one?
Doesn't do a lot for me, to be honest, again. I don't know whether I'm trying to justify just completely switching off to the point, but music, I don't know what it's trying to do. What's it built on there? I don't know. You'd have
I
to tell me
agree.
that.
I agree. Yeah.
Lyrically, it's got a sense of not quite getting his thoughts together. There's random ideas here, but nothing seems makes it a third consonant. That's not, but I don't know. Just didn't do a thing for me. Literally, if that I'd known that was the Fall, I'd have it wouldn't have entered my consciousness. No,
I think there's some niceness in the tune. It's got a nice fuzzy bass, and it kind of trundles along like quite prettily, but it's bringing almost nothing to the table at all for me. It's a Fall tune, but not a good one. About 4 minutes in, it does. I played that little bit where it's got kind of like that marimba almost kind of sound over the top, which is very nice. But again, I think there's an interesting tune in there possibly to pick out, but it's not there, and it's very, very mild. It's not really for me. I do like his lyrics around this time because I do think, yeah, they are very disjointed and don't really tell a story, but they're usually kind of, if you view them like a collage, I always just see it like it's a bunch of images, and often it's quite fun. It's quite interesting. I'd rather have this than some very linear on the nose, kind of like cheesy lyrics.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if he gets that right, if he gets this kind of like where, yeah, it's this mosaic of ideas and thoughts that create an atmosphere and mood. Yeah, completely agree with that rather than the straightforward stories. But this just doesn't for me. I don't know what he's trying to say or what.
Yeah.
Is this a character? Is it him? Is it? I don't know. It's just very hard.
I mean, a lot of the lyrics in here are definitely based around medical stuff, and he was in hospital around the time he broke his leg, and he had other things going on as well. So there's in between the other kind of more obtuse stuff, there's definitely some direct references to him being in hospital, and but then woven in between it, there seems to be some kind of dig at expats in Mexico, which doesn't really hold together. And probably did it better again on things like Maki Cha Cha, where it's a pretty nails the kind of satire of the Brit overseas, whereas this is so disjointed. It's really just it doesn't make its point enough, I don't think. Although I do love again the imagery, because it's just silly, really, at the end of the day. There goes old Gilio, there goes Yorkie, that old Archibald Yates, Mexico. They love their government in Mexico, winner of Britain's lowest prices. The Trimadine is kicking in, the barbiturates are kicking in, and it's the winner of Britain's lowest prices. I don't make rice with screwdrivers or fried chicken with a trowel. Hand me a wrench or a sachet of sick in this marvelous empire. It's with the winner of Britain's lowest empire. That's nonsense. Alistair, what does Mexico Wax Solvent do for you?
Yeah, not a great deal. I think the main thing that is the drawback for me is it's kind of lost. It meanders, despite it having that solid backbone all the way through it, which is I'm not dead keen on what the bass and drums are doing either, and they just do it all the way through. It bore the hell out of me if I was playing it. And if you're going to do, I think it's unfair to compare it to Sister, like in just for the repetitive nature of a song. It's a completely different approach, but they're both repetitive songs, but that's how you can kind of like do something, and there's loads of things going on, and it's still interesting, and it still kind of like hooks you in, where this is just sort of like do, and with some like synth over the top of it. It's a lot more kind of like 2D than Alton Towers was, in the way that there was a lot of stuff going on in that. With this, it just like it doesn't seem like there's much going on in it at all.
No, very, very. Stu, I think Stu hits the nail on the head. Perky and lacking any substance whatsoever. Perfectly adequate, nothing more. Whereas Max says a musical idea that's stretched way too thin, almost the anti-Roast Chapel. And we come to On This Day, which is hammering the same point for 15 minutes. But, repetition done right, especially around that era of perverted bell language, when you've got stuff like Garden and I.F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T, and things like that, where they do manage to get just the mood and the spirit, and this just falls flat, I think, for me. Although, interestingly, we got a comment from Leon on the annotated Fall over there from years ago, where he said that he was I think his dad was in hospital getting his knee done, and he, by the side of the bed, he saw Aqua Rosa. So again, he thinks that it's another reference to illness and sickness, of which there are many on that album in that era. So,
well, just not again. Even if there are references, even if the Snatches, he's a writer. He's got to be aware of whether that's going to deliver to the audience, whether it's capturing the mood that I didn't get any sense of that, and that's.
Yeah, and I think this era, one of the criticisms we've had is that it does sound a little bit like a pub rocky generic at times, and what he's not going to have any chance of connecting with the lyrics if the music is a more generic thing. That's why you look at Gross Chapel, and again, whether or not it was and later we'll get to Sleep Debt Snatches, which I think is a good example of this, of where the mood does fit, but whether or not that's just a coincidence or whether it was planned is hard to say.
Your perspective to a chicken and egg situation, his lyrics just become more meandering because the music just became more plodding, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's that period in the 90s where the music started to get very baggy, Manchester kind of era, and his lyrics became probably as straightforward as they ever got. They were very kind of almost deliberately generic, kind of anodyne statements. But I don't know whether that was some meta commentary on pop music at the time, or whether that was just what was interesting him. But then, yeah, as he got back towards the end, it started to get more and more abstract. But I get your point. If it's abstract and your message isn't getting through, it doesn't connect to the music, there's definitely something lacking there. Indeed. Well, it is time to take a vote. So which way are we going? Are we going Alton Towers, or are we going Mexico? It's maybe neither of the above for some people. Which way are you going, Alistair?
Go on, let's go Alton Towers.
All righty. And how about you, Tarpey? You can
Yeah,
throw your
Alton.
vote in the bin if you like. What's that?
By default, Alton Towers.
All righty. Yeah, I'm a fan of Alton Towers, as I said. Stu's just giving it 2.5 out of 3, Mexico 1, and Max has gone Alton Towers. So it is a rout for Alton Towers, but I'd be interested to see how it will do when it comes up against one of the big boys in round 3. So we now go to the last showdown of the evening, and we've got a tune from when you were still on board with the mighty Fall, and This Day. Last track on Hex Induction Hour. I won't play the whole thing.
You're not wrong.
That's right. This day will never end. Tarpey, what does it's a controversial one for some people. Which way do you lean on And This Day?
I just love this. I mean, I don't know. Am I allowed anecdotes? Or I think the last great Fall gig I went to, this was at 2 drummers in the warehouse in Liverpool, and possibly, I don't know, this sounds a bit spiteful, but a lot of the reasons. There was a few instances I can recall where I think there was people who started to tell me to listen to the Fallout. I didn't want them to be the kind of people who were listening to my band. A lot of those early gigs, you were going along, you were dragging someone to be honest. This gig, I remember there was someone, proper musician, who was talking as though, he was going to tell me why I should like the Fall and this kind of stuff. He turned up, and I remember Marky Smith being at the bar, and me going, ooh, getting quite excited about just say hello to him, and snotty, kind of like, ooh, why didn't you kiss his feet then or something? I was like, and they finished with On This Day. In my head, it feels like it went on for about 40 minutes. They just kept at it. And I don't know, it was a deliberate attempt just to clear the room, get people out. But it had that, obviously, the stuttering drum beat that could be finishing, and then it would kick back in. And you could see people take a big, deep breath, sigh, and then the audience was filtering out. And in my memory, and I don't know whether this is whether this is a nice, happy ending to this, like the snotty kind of mate drifted, and I stayed to the end. And I don't know, it could have been 40 minutes, it could have been just slightly longer than the actual track itself, but it went on and on and on. And it's a work of art to me, this. I absolutely always have loved it. I love Hex and Duction Hour. I mean, every single moment of it, and this was the perfect. I don't know, musically, I don't know, it's everything I love about music. It is repetitive, it is kind of like, but there's a platform for just so much on top of that it's so dramatic. It's just a brilliant piece for me.
Yeah, there is that idea that it's the one that sorts the men from the boys. It's the idea taken to extreme. The idea of just drilling down on that same idea for as long as you want to, whether it's 15, 20, 25 minutes. I think that I've heard that there are versions 25 odd minutes out there. I've not heard of any that are longer than that. I'm not sure what the longest was they ever played, but yeah.
I mean, there's no record of that gig. I don't think I was trying to track down to see if anyone else. But to be honest, I remember we went to My Bloody Valentine when they did the feedback, and there was 4 of us there, and how long they played that White Noise for, in our heads, varied between 10 minutes and 45. So none of us had any clue.
Yeah.
Everybody was at this gig, so I've nothing to compare it to. So
yeah, but it's just that feeling, isn't it? I think for some people it's excruciating. I go back and forth on it. There's days where they're kind of like almost monochrome, just jabbing. It like really does it for me. And Smith's kind of really impassioned, kind of like dirgy kind of lyrics really works. And then there's other days where I just can't hack it for more than about 30 seconds.
I mean, in terms of his vocals, I mean, this is as good as it can be. I mean, it is just absolutely perfectly delivered for me. And I do remember it being a perfect platform for him live as well. All you can do live.
I think what's interesting is that he's got the band on a tight leash, but they clearly have some little pockets here and there they can just wriggle, and everyone's just got this tiny amount of wriggle space. And so there's kind of a wood block that comes in at one point, and then everything breaks down and stutters, but it never deviates from that riff and that for like the whole time. It's but it's interesting when you listen and see like everyone, like when the keyboards come in like 3 or 4 minutes in, and then they start playing melodies, and then they start just playing chords and noises, and then that lasts for like another 5 or 6 minutes, and then there's some whistling comes in and some feedback coming in, and it's like everyone's just it's like, to me, it's like they've got just a tiny little bit of wiggle room to do something interesting, and everyone's really trying their best to not go outside that, but to do something interesting inside it. What's Alistair think though on this day?
I love it, of course, yeah. It's like they're deliberately trying to annoy people, and I like that. There's like a belligerence to it. It's just like kicking you in the face repeatedly. And I think it's the attitude that I really do like, and that attitude's been something that's really influenced the music that I've done over the years. And I know full well, Brendan, that we've been banned from playing venues before now for making a complete racket, which with a similar kind of attitude, that belligerent, that kind of like, how far can we push these people before they snap?
Not very fine in most cases. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like that they just cutting your nose off to spite your face approach to antagonising an audience. It's awfully entertaining, especially if you're doing it yourself. But yeah, I can't say anything that you've. Well, I could just repeat what you've said, but I'm not going to bother. But it's just a great tune. Goes on for ages. Mentioned Sister A in the last one, and that's about the long, repetitive kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, this is a similar template, I think.
It's interesting where you kind of say deliberately trying to annoy people. I mean, I understood it was doing that, but it never had that sense to me that it was testing me in any way. It really did feel, just saying on the thread before, like one of the big shocks one of the things I had to get used to was that you couldn't just shove a full song in the middle of a party thinking. I genuinely believe, as I was saying before, that forget all their attempts at pop music, I thought Fantastic Life was a pop song.
Oh, it's great.
It was just catchy. It was just catchy and it was interesting, and you could shove that on in the middle of a party and everyone would keep dancing. And I was quite shocked to find out that wasn't true. I didn't get the sense that they were trying to annoy anyone. I just thought they're really enjoying this. This is a workout. This is testing their abilities in all sides, as you say, to be able to hold that together, but just show how good they were. And
it's in context, it's not too far from early industrial stuff. It's only a step away from Throbbing Gristle and kind of that kind of ilk, and they didn't go down that path. It's another. There's so many down the years of paths where the Fall did something and they only really did it once. I think this is the only time when they just did that one hammering riff for like a good chunk of time, and there's just almost nothing else going on. There's no additional melody. He's not got any form of chorus. He's just really, it's almost like a really aggressive poem that he's just kind of delivering for, and everyone's just kind of like helping him to just hammer that "and this day," like that "and this day" is just done, and it's not fun at all. It's fun.
There is a mood, isn't there? There is and no fucking respite for us. There is this sense of there's a mood being that he's trying to express here, and he's
very much, yeah. I mean, the mood there of being of an endless kind of pain and being stuck in that, and
that's why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, the lyrics that no matter who, what, and never, who fills baskets or just who's there, you show me the bloody poor bores, and this day the surroundings are screaming on the road, so you mistrust even your own feelings. No matter what, the whole earth shudders everywhere, just no fucking respite for us here. Who are the translators seen from the bottom glass? Put sig, the old feelings came back, screaming at roads. This is very collage. It's very hard to see what he makes of it, but because it does fit the kind of airless, angry, black and white kind of monochrome riffage, it works really well. I'm not sure if I like it though. I don't think I do. Stuart says, I like the thought of this track more than the experience. Okay, yeah. It pummels you and I can commend it for that. I love the drums, but I don't really want to listen to it because it makes me feel mildly panicky. Whereas Max says, crikey, it's not often that I make my way all the way through this one. I used to think it was filler to get us to the 60-minute mark, but I'm more sympathetic now. After reading Paul Hanley's book, I admire the bloody mindedness of it, but I still don't really enjoy it. Apparently the 15-minute version on Hip Priest and Camarades is considered by a lot to be better than the studio version. So we're going to have a listen to that in a minute. But anything else to add there, Tarpey, about On This Day?
I mean, it's interesting. Again, I don't know. I can't explain why it doesn't have that sense of being tested to me, but maybe it's of its time. Maybe that is really, I think it's very hard to describe how utterly depressing and boring the time leading up to this was, and being from small towns and that kind of thing, and it's just got all of that in it, and it is just a primal scream, isn't it? It's kind of and maybe just so much of its time, and
it takes itself very seriously, and it does it well. And the Fall didn't always take themselves very serious. So there was usually a hint of humor in there, and there's none at all in this. It's almost to me the opposite of something like Iceland, which doesn't seem to fit on Hex for me. It's got that kind of plinky plonk sound, very light. Lyrics are kind of a bit goofy as well. And then you have this, which is, to me, the polar opposite, as far as away from that as the Fall got. Very sweet in some ways. Let's have a listen to the one off Hit Priest and Comrades, which is live, but don't know exactly where this one was recorded. There's Pikachu. It's interesting because it's so much lighter. It almost sounds like Frank Sidebottom doing this day. It's like it's got just this plinky plonky keyboard. It's like, I unless I'm missing something, the studio version has a lot more heft.
That's not what I remember live. I mean, the studio version is very close to what I remember it feeling like live. The two drums are very, very powerful live, and especially that was a very small venue. I don't know. Saw them with two drummers at the Royal Court. It didn't have the same impact, but the Warehouse in Liverpool was a very tight little venue that and burnt down not long after. I think
it's in Paul Hanley's book as well, or one of the interviews where Smith basically says this was an attempt to get the two drummer lineup to do something, and I think it was. Unless I'm missing something, they're more or less both playing the same thing all the way through. There's not a lot of variation, but it might just adding to the power. And gives a bit of percussion going on there. Alistair, you'd know. Did you notice anything obvious about two drums there, or is it just the power?
Oh, yeah. They're sort of like taking it in turns, dropping out in parts, which gives it a bit more of a... It's like they're tripping over each other almost.
Flange going on. All right, well, it's up against Sleep Debt Snatches, which is a B-side from There's a Ghost in My House, but one that we've become very fond of over the years for a variety of reasons.
Out of the acid times in fitful sleep, snap right up, lean out of the bed, pivot your legs, shake your head, take an easy breath. Think how great God's golden assurance is in setbacks and great success. But bad dreams through...
Sleep Debt Snatches. Tarpey, was this one you were familiar with? Or?
No, I'd never heard it until Alistair sent me it. It's brilliant. I don't know, I'm not sure about the slightly musical-y introduction to it. It's like, this is what this is about. I don't know what it would sound like without that, but brilliantly kind of like, just one's on board, isn't it, with this? Just let's show everyone what this feels like. I don't know, musically, it's just incredibly interesting. Whatever he's doing vocally all the way through it just works again, isn't he? He's just creating an atmosphere with his vocals, and that's absolutely fine with us. I don't know how I feel about the introduction to it. I don't know, but I could listen to that for 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, it's a really nice kind of groove they've got going on. Yeah, the beginning bit's a little bit, I don't know, I always see it as a concept kind of piece where it's kind of like, this is, kind of a bedtime story, like you say, TV show introduction almost, where it's somebody saying, hey kids, get ready now, it's time. I mean, whether or not it needs that or whether that adds anything, I don't know. But then when it goes into the sleep debt snatches bit, and that's just a really, really nice kind of the drums and the bass are just doing some really nice stuff. They're grooving along and the keyboards are coming in like little interludes. It's really minimal with enough things just moving on around it to keep it interesting. Essentially all built around that bass line, the mumbling vocals and the metallic rings. And yeah, I really love it. It is from Luciani as well, so it's a similar era. So works really well. And the Fall, being the Fall, decided to stick it on the third track on the B-side of There's a Ghost in My House, and nobody ever heard it until it got re-released many years later. So yeah, what's your thoughts on it, Alistair?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? You know, I think it sounds like two songs that have kind of been slammed together, well, moulded together. But I think more moulded together. It sounds like it's kind of planned. But I don't mind the wacky little intro bit, reminding me a bit of something like F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T. Quite like the snares off the drums in the beginning bit as well. Like, so like when you do come into the hip hop stuff, there's a bit more weight to it. So you got that, you know, it gives the groove a bit more weight. But yeah, the first bit, everything's kind of like dead busy. The guitar's dead busy, same with the drums, and then it drops down to that sort of like 2-chord jilted drum riff, which always reminds me of Gordon Zamora. But yeah, then it gets into that really sort of dubby stuff. Did Sherwood have anything to do with this?
Not as far as I know.
No.
But
yeah, there's definite like some like dub elements in there, along like with the obvious sort of like rap kind of feel to it. But yeah, the bass holding down a cracking groove and everything just sort of like you know, in the background sounding a bit trippy, like, you know, and just moving along nicely. It reminded me quite a bit of US 80s, 90s, when it sounded like they must be going for some kind of like experimentation around this time. But yeah, it's a really good tune. It does a lot.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. And considering it came out somewhere between Ben Sinister and Friends Experiment, and didn't find a place on either of those two albums, it's a very strange choice, but such is the want of the mighty Fall. Anything else to add before we take a vote?
No, lad.
Then it's voting time. So which way are you going, Tarpey? We've got him. We've got him.
Well, it's so fresh to me now that, I don't know, this kind of recency bias. I'd convinced myself so much about On This Day, hadn't I? But
they're both very different tunes. They're both really good. I mean, it's for me, I'm torn because, On This Day, like I said, it's the only example of that for me in the Force catalog, the best example of that dirgy pommeling. But this is such a weird and interesting tune. It's a tough choice.
Yeah, it's another reason just to love them, isn't it? I mean, I've said these two tracks as much as anything. Why? Oh, can you come back?
I'll come back to you. I
feel like I wanted to put the second one through just to challenge myself a little bit and challenge my own memories.
Interestingly enough, Stuart and Max, who both online.
If you two can guarantee me that you'll put On This Day through, and I'll go with.
I don't think so. I think. So Stu and Max have both gone for Sleep Debt Snatches. So
I'll go with On This Day.
Alrighty, that makes it a little bit easier. Which way is Alistair going though?
I'm going to be a shithouse and split my vote.
Oh. Well, then it's over, right? Isn't it? If I give it On This Day, then it'll bring it equal. But I'm going for Sleep Debt Snatches because
oh god,
I think there's better example. So, like I say, with On This Day, it's that brutal one note thing. I think some of the stuff off Ben Sinister, off Perverted by Language, gets close enough to that. Something like Garden or whatever. It's not as pommeling, but it's kind of doing the minimalism. This takes it one step further than is comfortable for me. So going for Sleep Debt. So Sleep Debt Snatches wins, and collectively the final few listeners to our podcast turn off in disgust as we put it out. But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such is life.
Still kind of, someone's walked on my grave now. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They've just. Did I tell you how great that was live?
Here, put it this way: that there's a second chance bag. A couple of tunes might still come back, but that bag's looking actually pretty full right now with decent songs that just went out. Because at this point, we like amazingly, you know, we've still got 200 and odd songs in it, but there's so many good tunes that
yeah,
it's already getting hard. But once we get into the next round in a couple of weeks, and then we're down to the last 120 odd songs, and most of those are top shelf, but it's done now. There's no way back. No regrets. I'm
gonna have to have a shower.
Tarpey, thanks very much for coming along. It's been delightful.
Introduced us to at least a couple of those anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you're up for it, you know, in a year or so when we get into the final stages, might ask you to drop back in, but
I'll try and listen to one post-90s album, maybe.
One post-90s. Well, Country on the Click's the one we keep coming back to, but I don't know if it'll suit your style. I don't think they went back really.
Really, I've gone backwards and forwards how much I can justify how much of it was just, okay, enough's enough. Yeah, I'll try and, there was definitely that, as you say, they tend to be more popular, that just didn't buzz, but I didn't give any of it the time that I gave those first 5 or 6.
I've done it. I've got a bunch of bands where I've been well into them, and then it's just like one record, just something, and then I'm done, and I can't get back into it.
I don't know. Well, I don't know whether it is that kind of really kind of intellectual. How much of it was just other stuff was suddenly going on. Everton were playing better, and made more friends, and
that's the nature of it, isn't it? It's the nature of rock and roll. It's always there if you want to go back to it.
Yeah, but
all right.
I'll never forgive you for those. How did that tumble out of the hat anyway? Couldn't we have put that against Alton Towers?
That's just random. So at this point, though, the two halves of the so we split into 4 sections.
They say the FA Cup's random, but it's not, is
it? We had Rod Stewart in to pick the balls out.
Yeah, that's not mentioned. Rod Stewart and balls.
So, well, thanks a lot for coming along. That's I'll play us out with a theme tune, but I hope you have a good day and take care. And
thanks and have a good Christmas.
Yeah, take care yourself, and Alistair, have a good break as well. I'll see you after the Crimbo period.
Right, yeah,
I've got a theme tune. Alistair made it. I'll play it. I'll play you a bit. People keep saying, "Is this the Fall?" It doesn't sound anything like the Fall. So it's not the Fall. It's not Fall. It's Alistair's. Pretty nice though. Here we go. Goes on for about 45 minutes.
Stop piddling out. I had clean shaven your mind into a light pink scarlet.